This is the test of the city of Black Audience.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Palatka City Commission meeting on April 13th, 2023. We're going to stand for the invocation. Pat,
All right, I'm back. Father, we thank you once again for this day. We thank you for your love, for your kindness, and for the multitude of your tender mercy. God, we pray, dear Lord, that you will look on us as we come together this evening for this session. We pray, God, that you will guard our thoughts. You know the intent, you know every mindset. We need your wisdom and your guidance as we are undergirding the city, God, for your glory. We pray, God, that you will bless and touch, God, even the atrocities that have taken place in our cities in recent days. We ask, God, for grace and for mercy to be multiplied. And we pray, dear God, for the families affected by these situations, God, that you will intervene and help in certain ways. We thank you for what you're doing and certainly for what you're going to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Campbell, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
Please join me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Grant, roll call, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Tammy McCaskill. Here. Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present.
All members are present and accounted for. We have a quorum here in the chambers, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from March 23rd workshop and March 23rd, 2023 regular meeting. Your motion?
Welcome to approve.
Okay, second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
With a correction? And then,
On the minutes, page 2, down to the bottom.
regular meeting minutes?
They, it says that, the vote, take the vote is incorrect. Enough to call it, and it's 4-1 or 4-3-2. Did you know it? You see what I want?
Additional one, Commissioner Jones.
On page 2 of minutes, yeah, down to the bottom of the motion to allow the process to be done in-house. And I read that was seconded by Commissioner McCaskill. On the second discussion, motion passed 4-1. I think the motion will pass 3-2 if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and those names are, those Commissioner Warren joined the list, so it would be 3-2.
Yeah, should be 2, not 1. My apologies.
Okay.
I've got it fixed.
And then on page 3, it did say that it was a discussion by the commission. There's a listing to disqualify. We had a conversation. What we said was disqualifier at all. It doesn't say it in the minute. No, we mentioned a lot. So did we make a decision? Did we? What we're going on that? It's not in there at all.
I think there was a lot thrown out, as I recall. I mean, one thing led to another, and what was thrown out brought up more potential disqualifiers and how you cover all of that. Do you have any clear recognition, City Manager Holmes? I don't think we've kind of resolved it because it was just more and more kept coming up.
So kept the minutes without with corrections to those two areas. What are you gonna say, Tim?
I was just going to say that there's certainly time for the commission tonight to having thought about that more to advise, if you recall, we sort of got a little bit sidetracked when it was suggested a disqualifier would be conviction of a felony, and two particular felonies were mentioned, and questions were asked about additional felonies, and then that kind of led to maybe the realization that the two felonies mentioned should not be all inclusive, and it kind of then broke down into discussion, as I recall. So perhaps at tonight's meeting or whenever the commission feels appropriate, you can go ahead and say the disqualifiers that you wish that, well, that you wish to adopt, because it's actually going to be you that's making that decision. We can always go back and listen to the record if you'd like, and I assume you did those things. Listen to the minute of the tape, I mean.
There was some disagreement as to what disqualifiers were, and personally, instead of getting into he or this commissioner or that commissioner wanted this disqualifier, I omitted it rather than it being my own speculation. Because as clerk, I try my very hardest to keep my own personal opinions or what I may have heard one commissioner say unmicrophoned or this or that. When there gets to be multiple commissioners talking over each other, I prefer less is more than to put in speculation personally.
Almost like dragging it. Yeah, let's put the facts in. So whatever we decide it's going to be, I think we need to at least have it, because that's what policy that we're going to change, right?
And actually that night, if we remember, Don kind of said that we did want to get into saying, what kind of, what was the disqualifier or not, so I think, and we said, we need to have that discussion and go ahead and identify it, but we need to just be real cautious.
Commissioner Borum has his hand raised. Madam Mayor, okay, Commissioner Borum.
Yes, if you're talking about the hiring process, we after we got in the discussion piece, we I guess we went ahead and we just said that we weren't going to. It was advised by city manager as well as our city attorney that it would be best that we don't start listing certain things that would be certain qualifiers, because we could put ourselves in a real serious rabbit hole and potential for lawsuits or liability. So that's what I recollect, and so that's all I have.
So let me make it clear. So we're saying we as policymakers will not make a decision on the policy to have a disqualifier to any applicant.
No, we're making a decision.
I think,
Should accept, because it was kind of going in different directions.
not like now. I think for the sake of the minutes and clearing up, that's something that Mr. Holmes said that we can talk about, but for sake of moving forward and approval of minutes, we need to make a decision.
So with that correction and with the minutes as they are, we had a motion before the correction. Do we want to go with the minutes as corrected?
That's friendly.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposite?
They,
We're going to move on to public recognition presentation. First annual health fair, April 15th. Oh, I'm sorry, April 15th, 2022, 10 a.m. to 2, HCA Palatka Hospital. Is there somebody here from HCA? There is, Madam Mayor. It's Ms. Yvette Jones. Please give your name and address for the record.
So my name is Yvette Jones and the address is 611 Ziegler Drive, Palatka, Florida. So I am here to invite the community to our first annual health fair at HCA Putnam Hospital. It will be this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And there'll be something for everybody. You can look at the flyer. I have some flyers here if anybody wants one. But there'll be something for everybody. There's going to be health screenings. There's going to be information. There's going to be some physician-led discussions, food vendors and other vendors. We have over 30 vendors that are coming out. So we just want to invite the community to this event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're gonna leave us some flyers in the stone. You leaving us some flyers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to give them the same?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, we now have a proclamation for Parkinson's Awareness Month. Ms. France. No, I'm sorry, Ms. France, I got the proclamation. No, you want to read the proclamation? Please.
When passed, therefore, I, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor of the City of Palatka, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, will hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in the City of Palatka, and call upon volunteers, researchers, caregivers, and medical professionals to work together to improve the quality of life of persons living with Parkinson's disease and their families. And we commend the increased research, education, community support, and services of organizations, including the Parkinson's Support Group of Orange Park and the Parkinson's Foundation, for working to provide access to quality and cost-effective care.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Is there somebody here from the Parkinson's Support Group in Orange Park? Should we take the proclamation? Thank you. And if you'd like to give your name and address, so you give a few words about your organization, that'd be great.
I'm Greg Hummer, 187 Dover Bluff Drive, Orange Park, Florida. And I'm the chairman of the Parkinson's Support Group of Orange Park, also on the committee of the Parkinson's Foundation, which is a national organization that funds research and development and support groups across the nation. And we appreciate this proclamation. Every 6 minutes in the country, someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's, which is a neurological disease that affects movement and other symptoms. It's caused by people and causes hardships on many families. So we try to provide education and we provide social activities and fun activities for people with Parkinson's. So we want to thank you, and hopefully we can start maybe a support group in this area for people with Parkinson's or looking for an outreach fellowship that they can join. We'd like to help you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Want to take a photo? Do you have anybody else with you? that would
Yes.
Like to be in the photo? Something come up here near me.
Oh, over here? Okay.
We're all gonna be in it together.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Cindy, for the help.
My name's Don.
City manager administrative reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, few items that I have are a distinct pleasure for me. First, we have with us the person that I'm going to appoint and seek confirmation from you to hire is Ms. Marcia Carthy, Ms. Carty, C-A-R-T-Y, as finance director. Could you come forward, Ms. Carty? Ms. Carty is, well, I'm very pleased to announce to you, I believe she's eminently qualified to be finance director for the city of Palatka. She graduated from high school in Miami, which Ms. Val appreciated very much. Then she obtained a diploma from a school that's of marginal credentials and qualifications, University of Florida. Bachelor of Science in Accounting, and she then obtained a Master of Science in Taxation from the Florida International University, right?
Yes, sir.
She's a certified public accountant and has been for a number of years. I won't embarrass her by asking her to say how many.
Right.
She's held numerous positions as financial director or directors of finance departments in various institutions, including the last 4 years, if I'm not mistaken,
You're correct.
for the city of Chattahoochee, Florida.
Oh, wait.
I'm sorry, Quincy, Florida. We're close. You understand, I'm from Marianna. I make that drive down 90 and to go to Quincy first and then. That's Quincy, Florida, where she's also filled in as the city manager for about the last month or more.
And even prior to that, for about 3 months, 4 months.
So of interest to all of us is the fact that she has basically performed all the functions in a small finance department that are required in our finance department in order to make it work. Budget preparation,
Yes.
audit preparation, and working with the auditors. They use the ADG system, which we use, and as a matter of fact, I think she uses it a little bit in a few more functions of it than we do here in Palatka. She handles grant accounts and
Grants account.
pension funds.
Yeah.
So in looking at her skill set and her experience base and comparing it to the job set that we had, I feel very fortunate that she was willing to accept our position. I think it might have had something to do with family, and of course, my persuasive power, but anyway, she's agreed to come with us. I think she's going to be willing to start. I said May 1st, but she,
Next week?
in all fairness, I respect the fact that she said she needed to give her employer adequate time to sort of get things squared away. But also, I think indicative of type of employee she's going to be, she indicated she would work with us in the meantime as well. Move forward because, as you know, our audit is starting, our budget prep is starting, our budget hearings are not that far off. So I can't officially appoint her and ask for confirmation tonight because technically she holds an office right now, finance director in the city of Quincy, and we don't want to get into that dual office holding thing. But in any event, she has accepted our offer, and we're counting on her now. You have anything you'd like to say?
Well, I'd like to say with your permission, okay, that I'm grateful to be here. I'm also very excited to be here as well. I love growing, and I investigated or researched the city of Palatka before even coming into the interviewing process. And what I saw was that your city is in the mode of growth. And when you're growing, you need lots of attention to detail. You need precise information, accurate, timely. You need to be able to make quick decisions. And, you know, I just enjoy what I do. I've been accounting for a lot of years. I've also been a professor at University of Miami and, you know, Miami-Dade and so forth. And I just love what I do. That's all I can say. And when I come on board, I bring all of me. I bring 100 and maybe 25% of myself. And I give all that I'm able to give to the best of my ability. I love training my staff, encouraging them to be the best that they can as well. I'm a team player. I think everyone is critical and important to the success of an organization. I'm excited to be able to work with Mr. Don Holmes, and I'm looking forward. I'm very pleased with Ms. Jones for her persistence. And yes, being here at Palatka will not just satisfy me because of my professionalism and my career. I'm very active with FCFOA. You know, I serve on various boards and so forth, but it will also allow me to be a better mother. I love my children. I love my family, and I do have family members in this environment and not too far away, my children particularly, that I want to be a little closer to. So thank you for you know, welcoming me here.
Thank you.
Next, I don't think he's here. Oh, I'm sorry, he is. Do you mind if I introduce you then? So we also have been successful in hiring a public information officer or extending an offer and it has been accepted. Mr. Peter Willett is in the audience. He currently is the public information officer for the clerk of court in St. Johns County, but he has a root base in Palatka. He started here with the paper many years ago, as I believe. Worked his way up into various different positions at the paper, and over the last 30 years, has developed a network of contacts with news media, including the television, press, and others in the Jacksonville market. He's also a certified drone pilot and started off his career as a photographer. So he brings all of those tools to the table in order to, and being able to help us in pushing out some of the information that we've been hoping to push out. We did in fact ask him, as well as the other applicants that we narrowed this search down to provide us a one-page strategy outline for how they would address a project of their choice that the city of Palatka might be anticipating engaging in. He did. It was a very comprehensive and innovative strategy that he had devised. He also is very competent with the area of websites and internets. I think he had an internal email system or website system. Am I saying correctly? Internal and external website systems that he's developed so that the city employees can be able to plug into a website that is basically relevant to city employees and internal matters affecting the city, all sorts of things, whether it be staff meeting policies, those kinds of things, in addition to the external website that the public would be working with. So also, I'm very excited to be able to hire him. And it's also exciting to know that he's looking specifically to come back to Palatka. He's been here. He liked the feel. He went away to the big city to our east and is looking to come back because of qualities that he found here. So wanted to make that announcement to you as well.
Thank you.
You don't mind?
No. As I told Mr. Holmes during the interview process. As I told Mr. Holmes during the interview process, I was a 22, 23-year-old kid. And when I first came to Palatka, and moved to a little apartment in Gill Street. And that my life here is a flat high school graduate and a little born here. Moved away to St. Augustine, but I know the potential of this town. I love this town, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. You want to tell your stories?
Thank you.
Those are two big hires that I believe in, big voids that we've been able to fill, and look forward to what they can accomplish with us. One more item that I'd like the commission to consider, and that is the use of our facilities and what events we might not charge for, if any. And when I say facilities, I'm talking about primarily Price Martin. There have been a number of requests to use Price Martin for different things, and request that people not be charged for the use of the facility. And Mr. Cutright basically asked for clarification from the commission as to, were there certain types of events that the commission didn't want to charge for? And regardless of who was sponsoring the event, is there a class of events that the commission doesn't want to charge for? Understanding that we're going to have money in every event, staff opening and closing and cleanup. So he asked if I would make that request of the commission to define that. You don't have to do it tonight, but we will ask you to define it in the near future for his clarification, because he's the one that handles the request. Okay. And then with that, having been said, we've got some report from some of the department heads in the spirit of trying to keep you updated with things that are going on. Who wants to lead off?
Okay. Go ahead.
I go real quick. Mine's quick. No problem. Sunny, can you pull those through pictures, please?
Certainly.
Perfect. Thank you. I believe that's Joe that you can't see there on the right side, but Joe, thank you for the picture. This is to basically highlight what we're trying to address with the second phase of the St. John's Avenue Streetscape project. As you can see on the left, the brick intersections have been lowered to meet ADA requirements. And on the right, you have the existing roadway, which is years and years of asphalt overlays. So the next phase, which will probably come before you on April 27th, will address this. We'll get a consistent road profile for the entire corridor.
Sunny, next picture, please. As requested, we have started to upload city project information on the city website. This is a screenshot just prior to the meeting. We started with some of the most notable projects, as you can see there, the CDPG granted project, Jenkins Gymnasium upgrades, Bird Avenue, Hank Bryan, and we're trying to get one on there per week. Next picture, please. And also, as requested, we have begun fencing off all the laydown yards around city. This is the one at 15th and 16th Street, commonly referred to as the Palm Hole. That is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to mention anything about the gymnasium, specifically the timeframe now for our return of our design drawings?
Yes, of course. So we are currently working with Pastoral Associates to finalize the construction documents and bid documents. 4 weeks ago, they committed to us, they would have those documents to us for review within a 4 to 6 week period. We expect to have a meeting with them on Monday, which by they will transmit those documents. We will start our review, hopefully go out to bid sometime in the next month. But the intent is to get community affairs in Jenkins Gymnasium as soon as possible.
And as you may have read from your emails, with conversations with the county, I've been advised that the county will allow us to begin using the Jenkins Gymnasium. It's a fairly non-controversial use to the extent that it involves the admin offices. There's a few more details to work out as it relates to the gym. But with regard to the admin offices, there are going to be some inspections made by the fire marshal regarding some things such as fire extinguishers, doors that open to the outside, exit lights, and the fire alarm. And then we'll be able to begin using the administrative offices without having to wait for the entire process of the new roof and the new HVACs and the new sprinkler system and so forth and so on. So that's good news to us. We'll be able to start staffing that building a little bit, which has a number of advantages, as you know, and also make a little bit of room for staff at City Hall and also across the street at the annex. So that was a development this week, and I have to express my thanks to the county for that position, which is significantly more relaxed than the position that had been adopted earlier by them from their building department.
Mr. McNeil?
Nothing to report.
Okay, fire department.
Good evening, guys. I appreciate your time. Chief Taylor can be here tonight. He's at his UNT graduation. So I'm mentor at the high school. So his kids graduate tonight, which is pretty cool. Just a couple of quick things. Recently, we just completed our hazardous materials 160 technician. 5 of our people completed that. So they'll soon test for their state certification. I'll put 5 more on this. That's a great thing. We completed 40 hours of vehicle and machinery rescue last month. Chief Taylor just finished his fire officer, which is a pretty big accomplishment. And we started our asset audit last week.
Last week you started?
Yes, sir. One there. So we got.
Thank you. Captain Newcomb?
Good evening. I'm here for Chief Shaw tonight. He had a prior engagement with, I believe, State PAL. Just a couple of things that we have to share with y'all tonight is one is our current gun range project. This is a 3-stage project that we started just here in April. The first stage is us working on the first stage is us doing some repairs and height extensions to our berm. The second stage is going to be, it's actually part of the agenda tonight, is a training building that we are hoping to get through the school district, donated from the school district. It's a part of the consent agenda for tonight for approval. And then the third stage of the project is going to be some cosmetic changes, security with fencing and gate control. We partnered with our other city departments, the county and the sheriff's office to facilitate this project to reduce cost. So do you have any questions on that? I'll do my best to answer them.
Anybody have any questions?
Secondly is upcoming community events for us. We have a code enforcement meeting that we're going to be participating in Thursday night for the blight properties with Mr. Cutright. And then we have several upcoming PAL events. We are currently taking applications for the summer camp. Summer camp this year is going to last 8 weeks, Monday through Friday from 7:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. And the cost for the camp is $200 per child for the entire camp. There are going to be some sponsorship opportunities, but we are asking the community as well as any of our city leaders that know someone that may need a sponsorship to contact Captain Williams, and he has additional information for those. As part of the PAL, we are kicking off esports during the summer program. There is no cost to parents to sign the youth up for that. We're also going to be running 2 different sports skills camps during the summer. One is for basketball and one is for soccer. Again, there's no cost for those 2 camps. And the parents can sign youth up for these programs online at pal.leagueapps.com. I left a copy up there on the dais for you guys for our crime stats. And currently for the year, we're at a 2% reduction. Any questions?
Thank you. Ms. Jones?
Just a quick update from the HR standpoint. At current, we have 7 departments that are full staff complete. We have 7 departments that still remain with vacancies. I'm currently onboarding 1 refuse collector, 2 firefighters, a finance director, facilities laborer, and a street supervisor. I would like to take this opportunity since February to welcome new employees that we have come aboard at the city. Terry Newell, our facility superintendent, Seth Wilt, a wastewater treatment plant operator trainee, Levi Williams, a wastewater treatment plant mechanic trainee, Frank Bushell, a firefighter, Isaac Johnson, a refuse collector, Nathaniel Koresh, police officer, Christina Larrabee Grant, a police officer, Caleb Welker, water and sewer utility maintenance trainee, Bill Hamby, our DOC inmate crew supervisor, Peter Willett, which we spoke about, public information officer, and Quindarius Lampley, a refuse collector. All of those people have been employed since February, since our last update, so from March to the current date. While we have onboarded and all of those people are active, we've had 1 retiree resign 5 positions and 2 positions term. So we're still working and finding ways for retention here at the city because we're bringing them in, but we still have people going out. So we're trying to find active ways to retain our employees as we are getting them in. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Cutright?
Did you give Ava?
To piggyback on what Captain Newcomb said about the blight forum next Thursday on the 20th at Price One Center. That is flyers out in different areas right now, and also ran in the newspaper. So we encourage the community to come out and hear and just educate on what we're asking for in the code enforcement department. Planning and zoning will be there, and also law police will be there. As of today, the initial letters went out to all the citizens of Palatka. I'm pretty sure everybody here probably received one. The mall has been flooded with phone calls with questions and concerns. As I told Mr. Holmes today, most of the calls were good calls. They were thank you. We appreciate what you're doing. We did have a few that had some issues and concerns about normally why we pick it on them. But we gave them the understanding of what we were looking at, what we were doing, and most of them was okay with that. Tomorrow, the 10 that we picked out, 10 properties that we picked out that was major violations will go out. The letter will go out tomorrow. And then we will work those cases as we get the tax clear titles back from those things and rework those situations. Switching the gears to, recreation, we're finishing up T-ball this Saturday. A good turnout, about 45, 50 kids in the program. And we're gonna start out mobile rec in 2 weeks. So, middle of May, we'll start our mobile rec going. I think the first one to shoot will be Rags there, community, neighborhood. And we're looking forward to bigger and better things. We got that wonderful news about being able to start thinking about it myself over the community center.
I have a question going back to, the, meeting for next Thursday. I've got stopped several times with regards to, a lot of people will want to be there. So can we make sure that we have the Zoom so people that can't physically be there be, able to log on via Facebook
Yes.
or
Yeah.
some kind of other method?
We can-
So that you can.
You definitely get that situated.
Stunning, are you good with Zoom at Rice Park?
I can be. This is the first I've heard of the request, but I can make it happen.
My question is, do we have the infrastructure there now? At this point, are we square? I know at one point there was an issue with our connectivity there. Are we good with that now?
As far as I'm aware, connectivity is good. We had our inauguration there in January.
Okay,
Did
so
anything change?
No, everything's good.
I mean, I'll have minor questions to get with you after the meeting, but I can do that.
In reference to the light program, if you can have some type of illustration or guideline that folks can go on. I got a phone call as well, and I'm trying to explain to them what exactly going to constitute light. Quite sure that's what your calls are about. So clearly define it. We can do that in that meeting. Clearly define what you're calling blight and what's going to constitute some type of action. Because people are saying, hey, if I don't cut my yard, I'm going to receive fines, and they don't know. So I know it's a whole list, but you have some kind of guideline. Because if not, they're going to keep calling in, and it may not be the people that go to the meeting because they're going to be there, but other folks want to ask. But it's something that we can either put online as well or in the newspaper, publish that. So,
you are going to appear on the radio, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna be on the radio, we're gonna speak, and also we got a pamphlet we created to highlight the top 5 major violations that we normally get. That will explain to you exactly what we're looking for. We also have a presentation that's gonna have breakdown the criteria of the 3 different tiers that we have, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So you'll know where you fall in that, and then different steps that come with those different tiers of how you can come in compliance.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right.
Ms. Walsh?
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, we have our presentation. So hopefully be a fairly brief update. A lot of the projects that I've talked to you about before are of course ongoing, including Wawa. And we'd like to point out that contrary to some negative comments on social media in recent weeks, Wawa's not going anywhere. We have committed to completing that project, and the sign that's out in front of their property that says available is referring to, it's an opportunity to, for Wawa to direct people to other properties they may have that they might be interested in investing in. So the first update I'd like to give you is on our cultural resource survey. We are looking at both the north and south historic districts. That field work is almost complete in those districts. We expect to have final reports ready for DEO by May. And we recently received a site plan review for Take 5 oil change to be located on the site of the Messer's Bait Store at 934 State Road 19. We'll be looking at that over the coming weeks. And just the day before yesterday, we received an annexation request for 7993 St. John's Avenue, which will be a mixed mobile home park and commercial uses. They are proposing 100 homes, 14 storage units, 10 RV storage lots. This is a partial
conceptual plan for the property of the residential side. The property is actually over 80 acres. Probably half of it is wetlands, and so the residential will be on the eastern end and the commercial will be on the western end of the property. And that is off of Old Wolf Bay Road. So it's between Old Wolf Bay and St. John's Avenue.
This is by the same developer that developed Villa Farms.
Oh, that's by the new school. Not new school.
By
For the reading center.
Yes. And as Mr. Holmes mentioned, the same developer of Villa Homes, it will be a very similar concept.
And Lisa's been working that project for a couple, 3 months.
Yeah, several months. They've been working with staff closely to make sure that they are meeting the requirements of, code for PUDs. And, is there?
So that property go from St. John's Avenue all the way back to Old Wolf Bay?
Yes. So this is actually turned around a little bit. That line on the right-hand side is actually Old Wolf Bay Road. And north is to the left. So Old Wolf Bay, that side will be entering off of Old Wolf Bay Road. But on the commercial side, that will only be entering off of St. John's Avenue. So it's a big, long, big rectangle, but then it's got the two little connections to the different roads. Okay. In the last 3 months, we have created 19 planning cases. 14 of those have gone to the planning board and or will come to the city commission shortly. 15 historic renovation certificates of appropriateness have been taken in, and 6 of those planning cases are annexations. We've done 9 zoning verification letters. In the building side of things, we've done 17 building permits with 1 major. Several signs. We've completed the setup for the scanner and plotter, and our staff will be working on spending a couple hours, several hours, hopefully a week, over scanning old documents and getting them set up in digital format. And then,
Which is, I think you need to emphasize that. Once that gets done, you'll be able to actually go to your historical records and files and do so in an organized fashion, whereas right now, it's a Easter egg hunt. You don't always find an Easter egg.
every time,
It's been a long time coming.
every time, right? We have also, staff has also made all of our applications ADA accessible and placed them on our website. So they're now all available there. And we are working on cleaning up our BTR records. We've got many records in there that have been inactive since the 90s. That haven't even, there's no reason to keep them. And then we are also, we'll be bringing before you a discussion of merging or blending our planning board and our zoning board of appeals. The zoning board of appeals hasn't met in over 5 years. The planning board has already indicated that they would be willing to revise their duties to take that on. I have spoken with at least 1 member of the ZBOA. There will be details to work out, but we'll figure it out. And I would also be open to your comments on that process as a commission.
The problem is when you ask people to serve and they volunteer and you don't use them for 5 years, they lose interest. And that tends to be contagious. So we're trying to develop a way of keeping people engaged if they will to spend their time and give their talents to the city on a volunteer basis. I think it's important to keep them engaged.
And it would also give staff 1 less board to manage. And then lastly, I am right now working on writing an not RFP, it's actually RFQ for continuing services for comprehensive plan updates and other planning services as well as inspections. And that will also come before you later on.
Thank you. Any questions from Ms. Hall? Thank you. Mr. McMillan?
And I have our operations manager do her update this evening.
Miss Sunny. Hi, good evening, everybody. We're just gonna go over a couple of the extracurricular activities that Public Works is doing above and beyond our normally daily work that we have. Yeah, that's it.
Sorry.
It's okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so we have the Hank Bryan Park. As you can see, we removed some of the outdated, non-compliant jungle gym equipment just recently. Tore apart in pieces. We ended up keeping the head.
I was gonna say, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, over Public Works. It was kind of sad, you know, the whole process, but it went well. And it looks good. So as you can see, they're removing, in Hank Bryan Park, we're moving all the old 6-foot sidewalks throughout. He kind of kept some of the new ones, some of the old one where we put some sod down. 15th Street, they pulled out the sidewalk on that side. And here's some of the new 8-foot sidewalks that they're reinstalling into the park as we speak. So that's some more sidewalks coming down off Brill. Dunham Street road prep is complete. We're waiting the base and the pavement. Really not much to say about that other than that. Okay, we have the new dumpsters have come in. We're getting them prepped and ready to go out to start replacing. As you know, a lot of them are in bad shape. So getting those. We're working on getting our shops together and organizing everything at the Public Works. So that's it. We did all the mulching down at the riverfront. St. John's River Center. And the River Center, we're getting ready. It's prepped and ready to go to start doing everything as far as getting the drywall and everything completed. So we're hoping to get that started within the next 2 weeks.
So is that drywall was removed for the mold eradication?
Yes, that's correct.
And how much was that? Like it's one wall or what? What you got? How much space is that?
Almost every room in the entire building, there's over 1,000 square feet of drywall that was removed. I believe it's 48 sheets, 12-foot sheets is what we'll be using.
That was in the scope of work, right? Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, that's about it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm gonna say, to staff, thank you so much for providing us these updates. I don't know, well, I can probably speak for the rest of the commission. It's very much, appreciated, and keeping us in the loop of those things. I know that I made the request and since then I've not had to make it again, which is a good thing. So I'm able to answer not only questions that come from citizens, but just I'm able to answer questions that I have for myself. So I'm appreciative for all the hard work that you have been putting into making the reports. And again, thank you so much.
I think we all agree. Thank you. Moving on to public comments. I'm going to open the floor to public comments. I do have some requests. I'm going to start with Mr. Vickers. Please give your name and address for the record and 3 minutes, please.
Askew Vickers, 207 North 18th Street. My first one is about you. You have a 3-minute time, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of that.
You have a 3-minute
Yes.
person. Does that for everyone with some?
Yes.
Because I've been observing you and you do not, you're doing good. There's certain people you let them over. And
But I'll
also,
work on that. Thank you.
and you have people who come back to rebuttal. I asked you that same thing, you said no.
Then that's my error if I did that, and I would work on
Okay, I think it should be treated equal.
it. Absolutely.
Okay, next thing is that Carl Frank does not represent or speak for the Black community. Carl is an opportunist, not a visionary. People that think that they're eyesore, Central County is an eyesore for the people on the train taking through here. Then he comes here if you want to change his whole position on that thing. The next thing is that if I don't dislike Ray, I just don't agree with what he stands for. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam Cobb. And name and address for the record and keep it to 3 minutes, please.
Very much, Sam Carr, 108 Riverside Drive, Satsuma, town marker 13 on the river. Here to tell you some good news. We're frolicking again this year. And so the St. Johns River Marching Frolic will be held again starting on the 17th. That's Monday, I believe. And that part of it will be the education process. And this will be our 6th year doing the education program. And this year we will have 4,000 second graders that we've taken and talked to them about our St. Johns River and about William Bartram and the heritage of this town, and take them for a boat ride. Many of them it's their very first boat ride, so we're looking forward to that. On Saturday is the day we invite the general public in. We had about 1,000 people last year, and we expect more than that this year. And we will have our the Pride of Palatka boat rides. We'll have 5 of those this time instead of 4, and we'll have many other things going on with paddles, bike rides, and then Sunday is our symposium. And we'll bring Bartow scholars in to do that. So this all started here in this room 10 years ago when we established the Bartow Trail in Putnam County, and with the city's help and the county's help, we did that, and then it became a national recreation trail. And so it's something very, very proud that our Palatka should be very proud of, and it's something that involves a whole lot of people in this community. Last year, the majority of people that came to the St. Johns River Marching Frolic were not from Putnam County. That's just we took bus rides, and in the bus rides, there were only 3 people on the entire bus ride from Putnam County at all. And then the same thing with the paddling events and the symposium. The majority of people that were at these things were not from Palatka. Doesn't mean Palatka doesn't care, but it means there are people outside of Palatka that want to come to you. So it's a really good event, and it's something we look forward to every year. This is our 8th annual event, and we want to invite you all to our VIP frolic, which is on Friday night. And so and that'll be in front of the River Center. River Center's not open, so when you read this, it'll be in front of the River Center. We'll have a tent and all that kind of good stuff, and we'll have some nice food and beverages for you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Alan Sheffield. Name and address, please, and 3 minutes next.
Sheffield, 512 Mulholland Park, Palatka. 2 things quickly. One, I'd like to respectfully ask if item I, resolution 23R88, could be removed from the consent agenda because that's dealing with one lot. The next item on the in regular business, the Hamilton proposal deals with all 3. And so if you would consider removing that from the consent so that you could consider the other item report. The second matter is something I'm not even asking for answers on right now, but I think in the spirit of how you guys are dealing with process and working on improving how we do things in the city. One of the things I wanted to stress is we've got to be about making the commissioners more aware. You guys need as much information to make these calls and decisions. And in this process with Hammond Hall, even my experience, that hasn't been the case. For instance, in submitting a letter of intent back in November, following up with the staff back in December, that never got to your attention. I attended a meeting in February then where you actually made the decision to go ahead and move away from the bid process, go with a realtor. And I said, well, wow, I never heard anything back or, and so they made that decision without even considering a bona fide purchaser. And so I ended up finding out after that meeting that you guys never received or were made aware of that letter. So
I just want to, I'm not asking for explanations or anything like that, but I just want, in the spirit of improvement, to make sure that you're requesting and city staff are giving, even if they don't agree with the proposal, make you aware of what's out there as a potential opportunity so you can make the proper decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Grace, Putnam Beautiful.
Good evening, Nicole Grace, Executive Director of Food Putnam Beautiful. I just wanted to reiterate that we are interested in cleanups all over and are initiating, especially now that all the intersections are done in the St. John's Avenue section, to do cleanups there on the weekends. And we are more than happy to provide supplies and support for any groups, whether that be municipal, community groups, civic groups, or even individuals that are interested. Keep Putnam Beautiful looks at right-of-ways, parks, with permission of Public Works there, as well as just public areas in general. So we do not go into private areas, but we're looking at public ones. And like I said, we've got a lot of individuals that will come. I even have a cemetery that's, not claimed. So if you want to go out there too, we've got a lot of places to do it, and we've got the supplies for it. Thank you very much. Oh, and Tire Amnesty Day is coming up on the 29th. We have 2 left this year. So the 29th, you have up to 20 tires per resident that can bring them in, and they said per resident, not per address. So very specific, a few questions about that. They just asked that they be car tires or light truck, and they not be, that they be clean tires. So tires that don't have cement in them or don't have your rims. Rims, I think you can either sell or bring down for scrap, which we appreciate because that's recycling. But that's going to be coming up on the 29th. It's going to be out on landfill. So if you have anybody that's in town that has maybe a trailer and from the good of their hearts wants to take out some tires, I know that there's at least one lot that I drive past almost every day, and I've seen it go from 1 tire by their house to 2, and today was 3. So that just within 2 weeks going by. So they're out there, and we have a solution for them coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Best.
Hello, my name is Mr. Zenny Best. I live at 200 Hayes Drive in Palatka, Florida, and I'm a mental health consumer advocate at this point. I want to thank you guys so much for the progress we've gotten over the last 10 years. We have the city council we have a meeting on the 27th with Mr. Breck, the director of the clubhouse in Gainesville. Putnam County is ready. We need an international clubhouse here. People don't have to be mentally ill with nowhere to go. You wind up in jail or a hospital. Walking to a mental health international clubhouse changed my life. And we have, as we started out with 9 when I started here, now we have 18 clubhouses in Florida. Please let Putnam County be the 19th clubhouse in Florida. It's so sorely needed. Those standing in the corner, out in the corners will change. It doesn't have to happen. If you hurt one of those people, we have to. Not just the person with the car. The person standing on the corner with a cup for change, we don't have to stand for that. That's a disgrace to our county. We take this person, we see what's wrong with this person. Have housing, you have some place to go, you have food, you have children, you have family. This is what clubhouses do. We get you back up on the feet. We have transitional employment for people with psychiatric illnesses. We give you work so that you don't lose Social Security if you have it. We keep your income low enough so they don't take your Social Security away or your means to stay alive away. That's how I got to Florida. Now that I'm here, I'm trying to spread the love. There's so many kids, we had a group of kids here graduating a few weeks back. They're in my mind. Somewhere in there, there's maybe just one. If we could help that one. And we have a program now where people with mental illnesses, we go out to the schools and talk to the children because they don't know anything about mental illness. Thank you so very much.
Thank
On
you.
the 27th of this month, Mr. Burrow will be here and explain to you about the logistics. Thank you so much.
Ms. Roach?
Well, it was actually for 7, for
Okay.
item number 7, and then we're.
Thank you. Ms. Grace, again, you're up for the County Historical Society in this case.
Hello. My name is Brianna Pierce. I'm 213 Madison Street. I am the president of the Putnam County Historical Society, and I wanted to invite everyone in the public to our April meeting. We're going to have pro pitcher Bill Swaggerty. He's going to come and share Florida baseball from Little League to pitcher for the St. John's River State College to Stetson Hatters.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay. All the way up to the Major League Baseball with Baltimore Orioles on Saturday, April 15th. It's going to be at 11 a.m. and it's going to be over at the Baltimore Holland House, which is located at 100 Madison Street. In addition to that, we will have a tent at this year's virtual frolic. So if you guys like to come down and visit with us, we'll be there as well on April 22nd. Thank you.
Is there anybody else for general public comment?
One more word.
No, Mr. Bass.
Please bring somebody with you. It's so important. Please bring somebody with you. It's important.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Best. Mr. Paul? Name and address for the record, 3 minutes, please.
Rick Paul, 1305 South 14th Street. I too had just a comment about number 6, line item I. My wife and I looked at that property and made an offer on the separate lot and got that in. And then we went back and went through in the call looking to make it a residence. So we thought it would work if we put a porch out the side facing the empty lot, fence the thing in. And of course, made an entry door to the north there, facing the empty lot, had a porch, nice windows, and then put a garage in on the second. Then I found out that the offer didn't go through, and so we stopped thinking about it. And then I saw in the newspaper fairly recently where that the individual who's interested in the lot is going to keep it together, which I thought was fantastic because I think it ought to be kept together. But that the use wasn't going to be residential, it was going to be commercial. And I thought 6 months, so the Palatka Daily News got it wrong.
Well, I don't know who got it wrong, but that's not accurate.
Okay, so I was
I
just,
don't want to discuss it.
based upon that information, I was going to say we were ready, willing, and able to pay cash to keep it as a residence and keep it all together as one unit. So anyhow, that was just my public comment about that section.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Paul, what was your offer made?
The offer was made within 3 days of it hitting the market. So I was one of
Do
the.
you have a date? Give me a.
No, sir, I don't have any.
What month?
What was when it first, whenever
What first was listed on the
it
MLS?
was first listed about a month and a half ago.
You made an offer about a month and a half ago?
It was a sealed bid. So, and then we had the chance to increase the bids without knowing, of course, what everybody else was bidding on it, but I thought keeping it all together was very important. So we were actually going to keep it all together and make it a residential property.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
With that said, we have closed public comments. And we are going to move on to the consent agenda.
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda excluding item I for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, including that item I.
Also, item B. D as in dog.
Yes. Anything else? Any other inclusion?
Also, item G for discussion.
Wait, no, I'm sorry again, I didn't hear.
G, dog.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda excluding items D, item G, and item I for discussion.
Okay, second, okay. First item, adopt resolution 2023-79.
Well, wait a minute, you haven't voted on the consent agenda, have you?
I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, thank you. Sorry. Ms. Krantz?
Thank you. Item B, Madam Mayor. A resolution of the city of Palatka, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget to transfer $38,000 from general fund reserves to River Center maintenance line, providing for scrivener's errors.
Mr. McMillan?
Good evening again. So the transfer of funds is intended to allow us to accommodate the repair of the drywall, level 5 finish on the painting, additional repairs associated with the restrooms, counters that were damaged and removal of drywall behind them, damaged framing within the walls, damaged and removed insulation in the walls and above on the ceiling, repainting of the ceiling, and any other miscellaneous things that may come up with reconstruction.
So I just going into the reserves to get out $38,000 on that. You're right, it's an entire rebuild inside of that facility. And then, we just paid $57,000 to get the mold out of there. My question is, I actually thought that was included when I voted on that mold excavation was to R&I, remove and reinstall. So that's a lot of money. That's what was almost hitting $100,000 for that. And being that we had estimates before a lot cheaper, I just wanted to actually be clear if that's what's really happening. That's what we have to do. And you said some of the damage was done removing the mold, the toilets and stuff. That's what you did.
Well, some countertops. So there were some, I believe there were cypress countertops that were inbuilt into the opening. And as demolition comes through, the opening isn't exactly square. So to remove it, it had to be broken a little bit. So we're trying to reach out to the local cabinet maker to reassemble the cypress countertops that were there. If not, we'll have to come up with an alternative. Other damages include a lot of the metal framing or the high hat, which was attached to the masonry. Some of the drywall, had soaked water and began to rust a lot of that framing. So there's a significant amount of that framing to replace in order to reattach drywall to it.
I'm sorry, Amy.
Oh, no.
So just to be clear, the $57,000 to get rid of the mold was just to cut out all the drywall and treat it.
Correct. Just remediation and testing to accommodate, and verify that the mold was remediated. The reconstruction budget really was unknown based on what the remediation scope would be. We could see, a small evidence in one area, but as you can see on that north wall, almost the entirety of the wall had to be removed to excise the mold that was found during the remediation process. So reconstruction, it was a question mark going into it. And that's why that bid was just put out as remediation services and intending to go back and reassess what was removed afterwards.
There's really no way to know though, when you start going down the road, how much is.
Correct.
So city manager's question here is about going into the reserves. Any reservations of doing that? Are we okay financially to, I mean, I just keep hearing going to the reserve and doing this project with that one. I just want to know how we would reserve.
The reserves are still very healthy. I can't give you a specific amount. Obviously, without a finance director, that information is not as easily and readily available as it was before, but the $38,000, this is a budget amendment, and I guess that's coming out of reserves. It doesn't even specifically state that in the resolution. Is that where it's coming from?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what our reserve net will be after that 38 is out of there?
Last time I did the calculation, we were sitting right around 26%, well above the revised minimum.
I think our minimum is 16%. So we're at 26% on the reserves right now. This was one of those, it wasn't budgeted. So we either don't do it or we take it out of the reserve because there's not really another place to take it from. And we had that discussion before. I mean, I have as many misgivings as a lot of you do in terms of that building. Hopefully the repair that was last made is one that will last a while. I think we got about 3+ years on the agreement to maintain it in its present form and its present purpose. And then it's our building, and we can do what the city can do, what it feels necessary with the building at that point. But right now, we were sort of in that dilemma of you've got the building, we either do the mold remediation, and as you know, we put that out 3 times per bid, was it, Jonathan? Because the numbers and the bid specs and what was being provided to us by way of responses just continually were questioned by other bidders, and we matched specs with the bids that were coming in until we got this last bid of, I think you said somewhere around $57,000, which included bringing everything up to current acceptable standards for public buildings. That included air, and all the cleaning of the interior materials. So then, as you indicated, we ended up with the removal of all those materials, drywall and so forth. And now, in order for us to get the thing back in operation, we're faced with having to let a contract for the repairs, mostly drywall, but there's also exhibits, correct?
Correct.
That had to be removed because some of the exhibits were deemed contaminated as well by the mold remediation crew. So, there's work there.
Would that be something we would have to replace as well with this?
Well, as I recall, the agreement with GP called for them to, as I recall, basically put exhibits in the building at their expense and maintain them. So I haven't been in touch with GP. I don't know if Jonathan has.
No, we plan on reaching out once we completed the remediation. When we started this process with Georgia Pacific, they anticipated updating the exhibits during the term of the center.
And my final question in reference to reserve. I know we talked about the dock, repairing that, and then the boardwalk. And I should have asked before in the report. Is that a reserve project as well?
So it's currently budgeted at a better place, sir. None of it is coming out of general fund as it sits. And we do anticipate some of those repairs will be FEMA eligible for reimbursement.
What's the status on this? If you don't.
It's currently in bid. I believe it's closing on Monday, 14th, tomorrow, actually.
Clarify which ones.
I'm sorry, the boardwalk. Underneath the Memorial Bridge is closing, and actually just as an update, the city docks repairs will be posted hopefully next week, provided we can get the paper timeline.
Thank you.
Thank you. Which plans to do? Doing for the parking?
What?
Not the Jeep, but
No,
we done that. Do you read Jeep?
Are we voting on it?
Well, we need to vote on D, please. So,
Okay. When you roll in Springville and Commissioner Campbell, did I hear you start to do a motion?
You do.
I don't think it was seconded before it was called.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, thank you. Moving on to G.
Thank you, sorry, just recording the motion. Thank you. This is resolution 2023 R86, a resolution of the city of Palatka, Florida, granting a release of lien assessed to 801 North 11th Street, Palatka, Florida, for complaint number 2018-3011, and providing for scrivener's errors.
Mr. Cutler?
Yes. This 801 North 11th Street is this lane right here was actually one of the ADP cases that we remember several months ago. We talked about the 5700 cases that we had ADP that we was trying to clear up and fix. And we're trying to go through those and make sure they was updated. Actually, the realtor sent us this right here. So when we did our homework on this case right here, we realized in the documentation in the ADG system, there was not enough clarity to really keep to hold to this lien. But since then, we have already opened up another case back in 2020 that is running currently, that we have documentation and supporting document of the lien running now currently. So the ADG system is something that we've been trying to either go through slowly and fill all those records because they're very unclear and they date back to 2008. So it's kind of hard to get all of the information. But we did a case on this in 2020, and the ADP case that they had was back in 18. From what they said, we know that that was already brought in current, but we didn't have no documentation or pictures to support what they had in their files. And then we had nobody to really reference to what they thought during that time frame. We thought it best to exonerate this one since we already have an actual case going on, an active case going on, that we have documentation and support the case that we have on file as the actual speaking now. And it's currently still running at about $51,000 in check.
So if we wouldn't exonerate this lien, estimate where would that lien be there?
That lien right now will be $127,000.
Which we would possibly get recuperate 50,000. It's 50% as we have in policy, right?
I mean, if you really want me to be honest with you, of that price and that land right there, we wouldn't go to that.
Right.
But yeah, possibility of 150. And right now, on this new lien, we at 49, well, 51 is some change. So we pretty much right where we would be at with the other lien, we get 50% discount.
Right, but with Blight project, and straighten me if I'm wrong. That would then remove to foreclosure that property. That's correct. So therefore, that would be property that we could actually own and surplus out. I don't know.
But the lien we running now is removed to foreclosure too.
Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, that person is going, somebody's gonna buy it and they'll come in and ask for forgiveness. Then they'll get 50% off that. Do we have to buy it? Is this to actively remove this? I'm asking because that's gonna influence my vote.
Well, I mean, we'll say that from my knowledge that we did have about it back in November of 2022. She's actually asking us to do a lien reduction, which like I told her, we can't do any kind of reduction until the property is in compliance. So the property is still running currently with daily fines and fees of $100 a day. But the reason why we wanted to remove the other one, we had no documentation to support what the fine said. And being that my staff was not here when that was brought up, I couldn't support anything.
But I do see documentation. I saw documentation that they did go up and notice this property. And
yeah, they
I don't know.
3032 trash and debris, but trash and debris running fines movement. Nobody had a follow-up inspection when it was brought to compliance. We know in 2020, when I went out there with a case that I started myself, it was in compliance for that. But since then, we don't have no way of saying when it came into compliance. And the supporting document that come with that in AG is just not enough. We didn't have enough teeth to fight. Knowing that we have an active case on it at speak now that we know is running, and I have documentation and supporting documentation to fight this question.
Final question. Did the owner tell you that it came into compliance? Did they provide it?
Not the original owner. The new owner that bought it into November.
That's good. I just want to take the obvious.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition?
Nay.
L. With France?
Aye.
So
Aye.
I have a question with regards to the protocol of how it should be addressed. Are we gonna talk about 7 first and then come back to this, or?
I would assume that you would simply move, subparagraph I into the consent agenda to, 7, and discuss I as an independent item as part of 7, and then depending upon what you do with 7, you would have I to then address. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Then we'll move right on to item 7 and we can do that. Same with Helen.
So, as you are aware, we have been in the process of attempting to sell Hammock. And as part of that process, it was suggested by the realtor after our first round of bids, which were low comparatively, that we separate, that we could perform a lot split, create a buildable vacant lot adjacent to Hammock Hall, and then basically reconfigure the property in which Hammock Hall sits on, so that you'd have 2 lots instead of the 3 that were there before, and sell the vacant lot, and then sell Hammock Hall with the property that it sits upon. The item I that we now move and to discuss to paragraph 7 was a contract for $30,000 on a cash basis for the use of the lot, the vacant lot that our lot split would create. It would be used for recreation, for residential purposes, and would give you it was a standard closing $30,000 sales price. We had a proposal for Hammock Hall in addition that was I think Mr. Paul mentioned that he submitted a proposal and the realtor come back to him and said, we've got competing proposals. I think they're in the same amount. And if you want to give us your best offer, then we're asking the other person to do the same thing without either person knowing what the other one was doing, and then we take the best one. Well, Mr. Paul's offer was not the highest one. So the other offer was tentatively accepted, but then in the process of us moving forward and inquiring, we found that while his intent, he said, was to keep it in residential, when we tried to inquire a little further, it turned out that perhaps he wasn't going to really use it as residential, but it was going to be vacant or maybe even parking for a facility on St. John's Avenue. So of course we rejected that bid at that point. Now, our intent is to put it back out with the realtor on the listing and allow persons to submit offers again. But in the meantime, Mr. Sheffield submitted this proposal, and I put it on the agenda for the city to consider, even though I cannot tell you that I believe it's one that the city should accept. My purposes for saying that are as follows. This proposal would apply to the entire parcels, both the vacant property that we have a contract to sell for $30,000, as I've already mentioned, and the property that Hammock Hall sits on. Now, understand the contract for $30,000 is one which, as any other property or any other offer to purchase property from the city, I sign with specific contingency that it is subject to approval by the city commission. So my signature does not bind the city to buy. It is specifically subject to the city commission's decision to accept that offer, and that is stated in the contract. But we do have a contract that I signed subject to the city commission's approval for the $30,000 on the vacant lot. Now, which would mean we'd have to get 145 out of Hammock Hall building in order to come up with 175, just if you want to use my numbers for comparison. So Mr. Sheffield's offer is for 175, although I guess his item number 3 on his first page is inaccurate in that he states he has a down payment of 25 and 5 payments of 25 each, which obviously would only reach a total of 150 instead of 175. But then if you look at the next sentence down, he lists payment dates that totals 50, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. I assume instead of 5 installment payments, he meant 6 installment payments, or either he needs to drop one of the years where he's gonna be making a $25,000 payment in order to make it consistent. However, his offer basically has the city financing the property at 0 interest. So his offer is a $25,000 down payment within the city getting into the loan business and financing the property at 0 interest for, I guess that would be 6 more years, so a total of 7 years. If I'm reading that correctly. I think that opens a door that's very precarious for the city, and that you've got a number of surplus properties that it is the intent to sell, put back in the public domain so that the demand we now have for infill housing might be partially met by private individuals who build. If you're going to make an offer to finance this lot with a $25,000 down payment, I have a hard time understanding how you're going to be able to tell the next person who buys surplus property from the city that you won't finance their property for 0 interest as well. In addition, Mr. Sheffield's offer involves and would have to be contingent, if you were to accept it tonight, it would have to be contingent upon the CRA agreeing to some things. The first thing is, if you look at this page 4, the CRA would have to commit to awarding him a grant in the amount of $25,000 to make repairs, which that is taxpayer money. I mean, I know people like to think it's CRA money, but those are tax dollars that would be utilized. And he's asking for a commitment that those funds be paid back to him, along with $2,000 annually for the next 20 years to cover repairs. So that would mean the CRA would have to make a commitment to give him a grant of $25,000. By the way, we don't have a grant cycle open right now that I'm aware of that has $25,000 in it. So if they were to try to award that, if they were trying to fund this request, they would have to come out of their reserves with that, because it's not in a budgeted line item for grants. And then they have to agree and commit to 20 years of 2,000 apiece. And I'm not even sure our CRA plan runs for 20 years. I'm not even sure we got 20 years left on there. But you understand, that's a 20-year commitment of $2,000 a year made by this CRA board, imposed upon every CRA board for the next 20 years, which I would suggest to you creates a problem. So and then one more thing, in his page 3, he talked about a conversation with me where he clarified for me that his offer contained only one of the 3 concerns that I had. The 3 concerns I had to be with seller financing, which is true, zoning change, and a use of TIF funds. He says that only one of those 3 were real concerns, but in fact, I believe all 3 of those were real concerns, in that his very proposal says he wants to use TIF funds for $25,000 grant on repairs and then $2,000 a year for 20 years. Seller financing, which we've already addressed, and the zoning change, which he says isn't required. This is something that Ms. Walsh can talk to, but if you'll recall our whole conversation about the use of that property, the property is zoned R1. The R1 zoning district takes into account conditional uses that are allowed by the R1, R1A, and R1AA. Under the R1AA district, there is a conditional use which reads as follows. A use would be allowed by conditional use for a private bath, swim, tennis, or country club, none of which I understand he's proposing, or a community-owned and operated recreation club and association. The proposal is that Sheffield Family Properties LLC buy the property, and I assume they would own it unless he's committing to deed it to a community organization or association to operate a association. So my opinion remains that you'd have to rezone the property to C1, which allows it by conditional use. Which allows it by use, permissible use, C1 does, which we tried before and was turned down by the Planning Commission. Or you'd have to make a text amendment to your conditional use definition under R1AA to essentially clarify, to quote Mr. Sheffield, and I assume make it possible for the recreation club or association to be privately owned in order for it to fall within a conditional use in the R1 AA district. So from my perspective, there are a number of concerns with his proposal, but the proposal is for you to consider, and so I brought it forward for the commission to consider.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this? And I agree, and as somebody who does reside in that neighborhood, I had concerns about whether those folks in that particular TIF district were aware of this commitment, were asked about whether they were in agreement of this kind of commitment for many years of those TIF funds. And I was aware because of this process, but was not aware as a member of that neighborhood that there was not, to my knowledge, any notice given to the neighbors that the proposal was in the works. As well as I really think we're setting ourselves up for future concerns when we become a lender, a bank, which the city is designed to be.
I was just gonna tell you, Commissioner Barnes had his hand up.
Okay. Oh, Commissioner Campbell first, and then we'll go to Commissioner Barnes.
I just think overall, in short, I brought my concern, to Mr. Holmes. And I'm a tad bit concerned about us becoming lenders and setting the precedent of what could come. So overall, I'm not in favor of the proposal simply because we're not a lending bank.
Commissioner Barnes?
Yes, I am also not comfortable with the proposal based on the clarification that our city manager brought forth. But the only concern that I have is that the way that the parcels are broken out and to be sold separately. I would like to just see everything go as one package, because I think it's going to be a problem if it's purchased separately based on how the properties are. If you're going to sell a lot and then you're going to sell Hammock Hall, if somebody get the lot, then Hammock Hall, what's the use in having it, because you don't have any property? So that's just my concern.
For clarification's sake, Commissioner Holmes, Simeon Holmes, there is an additional lot. There's a lot that Hammock Hall sits on, and a second lot adjacent to that, and then there's the third lot, just for clarification. So Hammock Hall would have a combination of two lots.
So if you look at, there's a diagram.
I get to hold it up.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Try to make it a little bigger for you, sir.
I appreciate that.
Me too.
That might be too big, but
No, I mean, I think that's fine. So, Jonathan, perhaps you could, can you walk up there and explain the configuration?
Yes, as you can see, this goes out parcel right here is essentially the limits of the existing Hammock Hall building. It's on its own lot with a 0 lot line. This is an existing lot here and an existing lot here. You can see the line of demarcation. This is how they were split, parcel 1 and parcel 2 equally 0.28 acres. So the offer you have in front of you tonight, the 30,000, which is in excess of the list price, which was 19,000, is for the vacant parcel here, leaving additional vacant land beside and around the rear of Hammock Hall, the building.
So maybe that's a much better explanation than I gave, actually. So you see that you do have space adjacent to Hammock Hall, both on its, I guess that would be its northeasterly side and its southeasterly side, in addition to the actual footprint, and you still have the lot to its northeast. So those are the two lots that would be created by the lot split, and the market analysis of the vacant lot parcel 2 was like $19,000 or so.
That was the high, yes.
And the bids that we got, same process we used. We had 2 bids or 2 offers. They were the same, basically. He went back to both and said, I'm not telling you what the other one bid, but give me your best offer. You won't know what the other one bid. And we got a $30,000 bid on that vacant lot. So, $11,000 above what the market analysis was for it. I don't think Ms. Korea was surprised though with that.
It's kind of the average for that neighborhood, but also those are good sized lots for that neighborhood. There are some that size, but they're not the common denominator in that neighborhood. They're usually much smaller lots.
So you really wouldn't be creating a small lot upon which Hammock Hall would rest. Hammock Hall and its curtilage would be equal to or greater than the average lot in that area.
It actually would be greater too. You can see there are dimensions on this drawing. The excess land to the north of Hammock Hall is 43 feet. The width of Hammock Hall is 38 feet, and it leaves you 50.5 feet behind Hammock Hall in vacant land.
Question, so the broker's opinion of the value, excuse me, it includes partial 1 and 2. Is that correct? Or no?
The broker's opinion, he split the parcels up, as I recall, in his market analysis. He felt that the most marketable way, earlier we had tried to sell it in whole. Remember, we didn't get many good offers. So then he came back and said, I think you're going to be better off if you do a lot split, create a vacant lot, sell it separately from the other. And he gave independent assessments of both. And his broker's analysis of the vacant lot was 19. We came back with a 30. I think he had a high and a low on Hammock Hall with remaining parceling
225 and 180.
180, high of 225 and a low of 180 on the parcel. The Hammock Hall and the area surrounding it as it's described up there as parcel 1. So
Any further questions?
And just to share my only concern is the same sentiment said that the lender part. That would be my only concern. That's the kind of thing.
We do have some public comments on this particular item. Ms. Roach? We can, let's move to Sheffield up first, answer any questions. One of those minutes.
Is it the gentleman from Michigan? Okay, so just for information. And I'm gonna be frank, I have a problem as well as the city holding the note. I can note with that. But you expressed interest and you said that he put in a bid when we asked for bids as well. But did you have any alternate source of funding that if you to buy this out without lending so far?
First of all, the presentation of my offer is inadequate.
It's what?
It's inadequate.
Inadequate?
Yes, okay. You said as a condition of the offer here, and you cite the page where it talks about the TIP funds being a requirement here. The sentence before that, if you read that sentence, what does that say that my wife and I are asking? We're asking that the city staff, commissioners, CRA, and community to support our efforts to obtain approval. It's not a condition of this offer. We were asking because if you in the thing that let me back up if I can. I know I'm not asking your question correctly. February 2022, when I stood before you and you guys said, well, no, go back with the city and renegotiate, come up with something in terms of a plan that could work. This is what this is trying to get at. And it has multiple layers to it because even after that, we had all the meetings that Mr. Holmes went to, and the community came and voiced very loudly that one, they didn't want to see the zoning change.
Two, they wanted it to remain a community center. However, in February or the doors were closed. And this, at you guys' request, and the 6 months went by that then triggered where it couldn't be used as a community center anymore. It had to go back. So what this is doing is this. My wife and I are really trying to step in and solve a problem here. The city was trying to, the minimum bid that you put out there was $150,000. And when it went out for bid, you didn't get any where I'm sorry, but I don't care what this broker is saying. You have evidence that property is not worth that. He can dream up all numbers and give you highest and lowest, but it's not the reality of what the community is coming in and saying. So this 175,000, because I look at it two ways. I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant. The present value of that is about 153,000. That's stated in here because I'm considering that. So at an assuming of 5%, that's above what your minimum bid request was for that. I understand the situation in terms of becoming a banker, because one of the things I was looking at is that you're selling a property, but in all reality, the citizens of this city have said, no, you as the new owner can't use it as freely as you want to. We want to make sure this remains a community center. We don't want this rezoned to something else. So my wife and I said, well, if all of us are giving and taking, trying to give the citizens what they want in this, then, because the other piece that we looked at is this, because if I would have came back to you guys as commissioners and said, well, what if for the next 6 years, because the whole thing came up with this whole dollar rent thing and organizations getting away with this and the city is really holding the bag. But what Mr. Holmes doesn't get to is this page. Can you go to page 6? Well, back up, I'm sorry. Okay, what this proposal does, and when I say the stakeholders involved, number one, it makes it impossible for it to remain a community center, which an overwhelming number of the community got to. It provides this opportunity for professional management. It keeps it a key contributor to the economic development for activities like the Porch Fest. What it does, and you guys got to speak to the legal end of this, but that $175,000, what it's doing is this. It's returning what the city spent out of its general fund. And these are estimates that I got, just like I got information from the association, I got information from the city as to what's been spent. And so it would return the $22,000 from the general fund. It would actually return the $53,000 that was taken out of the TIP funds to the TIP. That's if this is all going back to the same source that it came out of, and then add another $35,000 to that. So this sale here would give the South Historic District TIF another $88,000 to go through and do new projects that have nothing to do with us attaining Hammock Hall. And then on top of that, and if you don't allow number 6 here, which is looking at the $25,000 for repairs, which any property owner can apply for. It's not a special permission. We're asking any property owner can apply for this and receive this. And yes, this would give $88,000 back to be poured back into that community. That's even after giving a $25,000 and a $40,000 commitment in terms of because we're committing to keep this as a community center for 30 years. What my wife and I are trying to do is answer what this community and you all put up there as what the problems were. And I'm saying it's going to cost each of us something to get to a solution that'll work as a whole for this city. Now, an alternative to this is because when I spoke to Mr. Holmes, he mentioned the concern about the finance piece. I said, well, what if we had come to you and said, well, can you lease it to us for $25,000 a year for the next 6 years and do a purchase option where we buy it from you for $1 after that? It hasn't changed. And so what would the answer of that? You could go ahead and frame the finances in a lot of different ways.
But that would answer in getting you away from these dollar rents, this being on you guys' dime in terms of the city. Yes, we want to go to the TIF fund and request what any other resident in that area has the opportunity to request. And so I want to harpen, because this is what I was getting to in my comment earlier. The spin on what my proposal does in terms of returning all of this money, and my wife and I then taking the risk of earning this over time, because I'm saying all of us need to step up and contribute something to make this solution come about. So that's my 3 cents, if you will, because I don't know if you have because after I spoke with him, I also offered, because he said on this page here, if you go back to 4. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm off on this. Okay, here it is here, where I mentioned where I spoke to him, because I don't know why he didn't point this out as an option also. Is we would offer the leases from the city on a 66-month lease with an option to buy for $1 at the end of that lease. We still give the $25,000 at closing and have annual lease payments. And then here I got it right, Mr. Holmes, 6 of them. Congratulations. Oh, thank you. $25,000 each. And so this gets you there without being the lender. It's still, and so what I'm about is we can find a solution to this. I am really fed up after, and I'm a new citizen here, 2 years will be June. But the process is here and trying to get to a solution and people willing to give in order to make something work is really getting frustrating for my wife and I. We think this is an absolute gem, as I've been saying for the last year and some whatever months. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, kind of wrapping up, Mr. Sheffield, thank you.
Get a question that could answer that question.
Okay.
And that question was, in lieu of us saying no to that, did you have the resources to purchase it outright? Okay. Without
Now,
us being involved.
let me answer that question. Okay. That could be a possibility. But when I look at myself as a businessman and investor, once again, you're asking me to put in $175,000 from somewhere else that I could be investing where I don't have the limitations where I got to keep it at its certain use and really look at it as serving the community. I have to invest where I can make money. So this is the reason why I'm looking at a lease or the seller financing to do this, because of the 30-year commitment we want to make to this community to keep it a useful and vibrant community center. And so I think that's only fair that all of us pitch in and not just shout at myself.
And that's very generous. I just, again, I'm back to the city is not set up and does not meet.
The city doesn't lease property.
Not to that degree, no.
Okay, but you're leasing
We're not.
these types of centers. You're leasing centers for community use for $1. And you're saying you would turn down this offer.
Also, when we get back to the zoning, you would have to have that changed. Yes, the neighborhood was not in favor of the zoning change, they were not in favor of the zoning change, so it didn't happen.
And
It's still
so-
zoned R1, and for you to come back and you have to get that approval
Okay,
as well.
but why are you guys looking into our future and trying to interpret that as opposed to dealing with the deal before you? Because I truly believe that we can marshal the support to get that change and do whatever we need to do. I'm not making it contingent upon doing that. What you guys are trying to do, in my view, is look ahead and determine, because I don't believe, honestly, I don't believe you want my wife and I to have this
It's
property.
not about you personally.
No. Because if I look at the actions, of how our letter of intent was ignored, how the painting of our offer is presented to you as a decision maker, I'm very discouraged with that. And so look at the facts. That's all I want you to do. And so I don't think it's fair for you to say, well, I can't accept your offer because I don't think you can do this. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do. Why are we being treated in that manner?
I don't think we're doing that either, so in fairness, but anything else have any questions?
I'm sorry.
I just want to clarify and put on the record, when you speak to an individual, speak to an
Thank you.
individual and not speak to us as a whole. Because,
Okay.
allow me to finish.
Okay.
Because when you say you think we don't want you to have it, that's inaccurate. I have not said that. I did not say that. I simply, my whole thing about it, because I was the one who made the motion to have Hammond Hall sold, is that the process that happens for everybody, the process, who did you submit it? Did you submit yours through the realtor?
Yes, I went and did that also. Because when you guys told me you didn't hear, and first of all, let me apologize. I do apologize, commissioners, and grouping you all in that. That was not my intent, and so I want to correct that for the record. I do apologize for that. But I was dealing with, because when I turned it into the city, to both, Mr. Holmes and to Val, the way the letters of intent were supposed to go to both of those. I did not hear back. I physically came up and asked if I could have a couple minutes with him. I met with, and he promised that he'd get it before you. I know about it, didn't happen. So that's what was going on with that. And then when I came to the meeting and saw that it was, you guys approved to put it to a real, and so that's why I asked a couple of you after the meeting, were you aware of and you guys said no. So I'm not sure why, but whatever's going on in this process just doesn't seem to be, and I just, when I've laid it out very carefully here, and a page like this is skipped, a page like getting where that $175,000 is going back to all of the individuals and what it can do for the community is skipped. I don't agree with that as a characterization of this offer. And so I guess that's what's here.
I'm gonna respond. First of all, I don't accept his statement that I promised to get his letter of intent to you. Just like his offer to the realtor, he was so far below the market and the other offers that were being made, he simply didn't make the cut. And his concept and argument that you're asking him to give him $150,000 or $175,000, which is going to go back to the community. No, you're not asking him to do anything. You're putting it out there for sale. Someone else pays $150,000. It also is going to go back into the community. It also is going to go back presumably into the TIF fund. He's not unique in that regard. The sales price, except that they're going to make it a cash offer, and he's asking to do it in installments. If you're going to put it out as a lease with a $1 option to buy, that is in essence an installment purchase. If you're going to put that out there and make it available to other people, you'll probably have more people make the offer of purchase. So,
My offer did win everybody's. Okay, all right. I thought he was done.
Yeah, I am done for this second.
Well, and I'll say this, and I'll be completely done. I just think we're using the word community a little bit loosely, because what I have a problem with is that residents that live in that area, they're not with the proposal. So, and this is not the first time, and this is not so much you. We've heard where other individuals who have proposed the buying of Hammock Hall spoke for the whole South Side Historic District, and essentially he spoke for a few people who was in his circle. And so when we speak of community and when we speak of in favor of, who exactly are we speaking of? Who have you, I mean, because we've had people that come in front and just speak against. So that's why I'm a little bit confused as well.
Okay, got you.
Although, and to add to that,
Yes.
I think you were one of those individuals that spoke in part of that, when that individual came up and said, he was speaking on behalf of the community, you were on the opposing side of that. Okay.
Now, once again, in this proposal right here, it goes through and makes it very clear in the letter that Sheffield Family Properties would be making the decisions upon the use of this property. What we're talking about doing is serving the community. This wasn't a proposal from the community. This is a proposal from my wife and I, and it's spelled out in here that we would make these decisions but what we wanted to do, if you go to We want to set up an advisory committee from the community. We want those from the north, the south, the business district, city representative to advise us on the use of this, because we want to use it and we're committed to use it for and that's the thing. The other buyers, you're saying to do, they're not committing, they're not using this for the community.
Right.
That is the clear distinction when you talk about what's going on with this proposal. And so in this same proposal, it speaks to the decision-making there and what we want to set up as an advisor, because there's too much angst, and I don't think there'll get good movement if you have so many cooks in the kitchen on this. We've seen this with this. So to clarify that, my wife and I would be making the decisions. We'd be engaging, and it laid out in here what that advisory committee would look like, and we would be committing to utilizing this for the community, the city of Palatka, for 30 years.
Madam Mayor, for sake of moving this forward, I'll be interested in hearing what those.
I'm going to public comment, which we're going to get into that point. Ms. Roach, name and address, please keep it to 3 minutes.
Cheryl Roach, 312 Dodge. 3 minutes after that is really going to be difficult. I am a resident of South Historic District. I have a private residence. I feel I contribute daily to my community and my neighborhood by maintaining my property, by paying my property taxes, by supporting my community. I don't think that having Hall has to be a community center any longer. I would prefer it to be sold as a residential property, and I do think there is interest. As far as anybody not feeling welcome before the CRA or the City Commission pertaining to proposals and TIP money and HIP money, the HIP program was suspended for over 2 years. Many residents were told that her maintenance was what needed to be done, opposed to any kind of allotment of TIP money to the home improvement of the South Side. We were considered entitled and demanding and selfish. I don't accuse Mr. Sheffield of that. I know that I'm not. The perception was something that was created and perpetuated, and we all deal with it. Moving forward, it's a lowball offer. It's an offer that is supported by the city or funded by the city. And I just don't think it's really the right move for the community. No votes have been discussed. No association meetings have been called, nothing. And to say that a private entity is buying or doing this for the community is just not a fair representation. Thank you.
Mr. Meehan? Again, name and address, please, in 3 minutes.
Robert Meehan, 815 Laurel Street. I feel like a bobblehead doll right now. My head's going in umpteen different directions. I commend Madam Mayor, Commissioner Holmes, for your thoughts and comments on all this. I firmly agree that it is not a great offer. If we look at it, like you said, it's seller financing. The city's not in the business to do that. And then if you look at asking for $25,000 in CRA funds, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you make the bid and you're awarded, you can only get up to 50% of the 25,000. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so again, strike two. You know, it just becomes an ongoing battle. Again, I think it's not the decision, and it's not the appropriate thing to do. If you look at, you've got an offer for a partial lot at 30,000. It was offered at 19, so you're plus 11. Hammett Hall property is listed at 225 with a low of 180. So even if you get 180 for it, you're plus money on the existing sale of the property. I see a good thing splitting the properties and letting someone build a house on that adjacent lot, and then the other lot And how many all go up for sale? Someone do what they have to do there. That's my comment. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Kitchens?
I live in Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. Sitting back and listening, I have two points to make. I'm neither for nor against it. That's up to you folks. The first thing I noted is that Mr. Holmes was talking about the previous applicant that wanted to buy the vacant lot. When they checked into it, they found out he wanted to use it as a parking lot for St. John's Avenue business. And I thought, well, that's admirable. I'm glad they checked into it. But then the question arose in my mind. BMT Homes is who is proposing to buy the vacant lot. So what does BMT Homes plan to do with it? Are they going to try to get a zoning change for multifamily? Are they going to try to do a parking lot? And so I would think, since the other one of this question is what he's going to do and he's looked into, I hope that BMT Homes has been looked into to find out what they're going to put there. The other thing, just simply this, the city does have other leases. I talked to an Art League member about 2 weeks ago, and they informed me that the Art League now leases the Tillman House for $300 a month. So the city does apparently do leases for more than $1. And that's just a point of interest, whether you all want to lease it or not, that's up to you, but I just want to make those 2 points. And I was concerned about what is BMT Homes, what they plan to do. Are they aware of the zoning? Are they aware of the historic district overlay? Question is basically rhetorical, but it's something for you to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Any address for the record? 3 minutes, please.
Rick Paul, 1305 South 4th. Sonny, could you bring up the map again, the plat? I'm interested in the whole piece, and again, it would be residential, and what we were thinking about originally is on.
Hang on, let me flip it around.
Okay.
You can go right there.
Oh, yes.
Both of you.
So along Kirby Street, we put a picket fence coming down. We want both lots because eventually, can I come over here, Donna? Is it okay? Sure. We would put a porch on this side and make that the main entryway right there. So punch a few windows out, a door, have a nice porch. The driveway would come in this way. Maybe later put a garage in back here. But there's some things obviously that would have to get approval from the historical board, adding the porch, windows, the door. There's just 2 bathrooms in there without a shower. You'd have to add a shower. You'd have to put in interior partitions, walls to go in there and that sort of thing. So that's what we were envisioning, having a porch out here and being able to look across to both of them and have the whole piece. Maybe put a little garden out there or something on those ones. So that was our intent with the property, and we would be interested in the whole piece.
What was your offer?
Well, we didn't offer we offered on the lot first, and then went back and went into Hammond Hall, and we're evaluating it and coming up with our plan when we found out that I didn't get the original bid on the other lot. At that point, we stopped pursuing it because we wanted the whole piece. So we're trying to keep it all as original as possible. Just basically adding a porch on that side, putting a picket fence in there, and having a garden. Commissioner Jones.
He asked you a question. He asked you a question.
Oh, the sealed bid originally was for 19,000. So my first offer was for the full 19,000. Then they came back and said there are other people making offers. So we went to 2301, I think, and then I think the other 2 gentlemen outbid to 25, and then I guess it ended up at 30.
But you didn't make an offer on him.
On no, because we were trying to get the first lot and then combine it with Hammond Hall and go that way. So whatever you guys decide is fine. I would like to make a suggestion. I think it would be better if you just had a good old fashioned bidding war on the city hall steps instead of being sealed bid.
Oh, that would be painful.
Well, it'd be painful, but at least everybody kind of knows where everybody is.
Well, we're fixing a realtor, and that's who we have a contract with.
Okay, well, it sounds good suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comments on this topic? And thank you. Public comment. Any other comments from the commission? Commissioner Barham, I don't know if you're still with us. I don't know, I can't see whether he has.
Stop sharing so you can see him.
Yeah,
No, I don't have my hand up.
okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Jones.
So leaving here, the decision is to continue looking for buyers with the realtor. Is that where we are?
On Hammock Hall, the decision would be to leave it listed with the realtor. If we sell, if you approve the contract for the 30,000, then it would be leaving just that piece of property with the listing with the realtor. And I think I don't know, I think it is listed at the high number right now. So, I mean, there'd be room to come down as time went by. You know, like with any other listing,
Now, I know you, Mr. Holmes, you're a can-do guy. And I think this board would be a can-do board. This is a question for the board to consider. I think, sound like what I heard the census saying that we're not going to get into the leasing business. We're not going to do that. I agree with that. But it is an offer for just that piece of property that said property one, that was labeled property one, which is just the Hammock Hall and the immediate parking around it. Is that the offer that you were making for that piece of property or the 175?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I want to know. For my.
So the 30,000 is is the offer for the 30,000 for parcel one, right? And then the other piece.
I think that's parcel two.
Parcel two, 30,000 for
Which is the
parcel
vacant.
two, and then we can leave the other up to the program, right?
That's
I think that's the decision you're on.
Okay, so if that's how we want to move forward, do we need to make a motion on that?
You would need a motion, yes.
I want to put a motion in for that.
Okay. Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, thank you. Now on to discuss I. Resolution on. We were talking about the sale of,
That's done.
okay, we got it.
You just did
Okay.
I.
So we're all set there. Going on to public hearings. A, PP case 2301.
Madam Mayor, if you'll give me a moment, I'm gonna put this, because it's still like that. Ordinance number 2023-07, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the city of Palatka, Florida, certain adjacent territory identified as Palatka Cedar Grove, map book 3, page 192, lots 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, and the north half of lot 33, excluding official records book 241, page 161, RD. Also note that part of closed Hampton Road, official records 626, page 185, excluding State Road 19. Parcel 210 26 68 70 400340 510 West House Avenue, contiguous to the boundaries of the city of Palatka, providing for scrivener's errors and providing for effective date.
It's Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa Walsh, Planning Director. This is to a request to annex approximately just under an acre at the corner, and it would be on the northeast corner of Old Avenue and State Road 19. To give it a future land use designation of commercial and rezone it to C2 intensive commercial. So it currently in the county is future land use of urban service and the zoning of their C2 commercial. The applicant is seeking to construct a restaurant on the parcel and to also connect to water and sewer. and they recommend their approval. Do you have to answer any questions?
Yes, I have a question. That, you didn't answer one, it's gonna be a restaurant, but, the zone changing. If the county had it for light commercial, and we're talking about changing the zone to commercial intensive C2, could you explain that to me or tell me, what would be the impact of that?
The county's C2 is actually very similar to our C2. And that our C2, they would each allow a restaurant with a large parking lot and certain percentages of impervious surface. As well. The use of a restaurant it would be permitted in either of those districts. In C2, it's actually very comparable to our C2. We just call it something a little different.
But theirs is labeled light, and this one, what catches my eye says intensity.
I understand. The counties, I don't know the exact uses that are permitted in the county C2 light, but they are similar in the intensity. So for example, they utilize C3 and C4 for a development that would be similar to the mall. So it's even more intensive.
So our C2 is kind of labeled as highway, accessible properties or uses that depend upon highway traffic. Our C2 does. So, and of course, this is directly on Highway 19. This parcel is at the corner of 19 and Toll Road, about a block north of Bradley's Restaurant. And so it is highway and C2 highway oriented usage.
And the second question is, when we annex like that, it's supposed to be contiguous. So that's all county. There's no city property that's butted up to that property.
State Road 19, the right of way for State Road 19 was actually annexed into the city back in the late 80s.
But we don't service anything over there. That's weird.
It is weird, but it is the thing that permits us to.
That is.
Wow, weird. It is weird, and it's actually something that the state no longer permits.
You know, Commissioner, you may recall, you may not recall, but that's how we got the hospital in the city.
Yeah.
They used Highway 20 as the corridor that was contiguous to the city limits.
Right.
Yeah. So that was my big question. I'm like,
And
I don't
this
see.
apparently was a similar tactic in order to capture the jail is up there.
Jail.
And the bus yard.
Good enough for me. That's legal. Is it? Can we ask a question? Not the name, but what kind of restaurant? Like, will it be a franchise or?
It would, it's proposed to be a mom and pop kind of operation. It's not a chain or a franchise. And I understand that the flavor of the restaurant would be Southern cooking.
Okay. We got more early information. Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have a motion second, all in favor?
Floor needs to be open to public hearing, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
This is the public hearing, the floor can be open.
Opening up to public hearing, anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. All in favor? Any opposition? Okay, on to B, Ms. Krantz.
Actually, we need to do the next part of that.
That's right.
It's a three-part.
Two, okay.
Thank you. This is ordinance number 2023-09, and it's come to you for adoption. Whereas the other was first hearing. This requires one hearing. An ordinance of the city of Palatka providing that the fish, am I in the wrong one? I think I flipped the wrong one. My apologies. Ordinance number 2023-08, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, providing that the future land use map of the adopted comprehensive plan be amended with respect to the following parcel of land less than 50 acres in size. From Putnam County Urban Service to the city of Palatka Commercial for the following property, 510 West Tolles Avenue, Palatka, Florida 32177. Palatka Cedar Grove, map book 3, page 192, lots 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, and the north half of lot 33, excluding official records book 241, page 161, RD, also that part of closed Hampton Road, official records book 626, page 185, excluding State Road 19. Parcel number 21026 6870 400340, contiguous to the boundaries of the city of Palatka, providing for scrivener's errors and providing for an effective date.
Second.
Open up to public comment, any public comments? Now we'll close public comment, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, moving on to the next rezoning ordinance.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2023-09, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, providing that the official zoning map of the city of Palatka, Florida be amended from Putnam County Commercial General Light C2, the city of Palatka Commercial Intensive C2 for the following property. 510 West Tolles Avenue, Palatka, Florida 32177, Palatka Cedar Grove, map book 3, page 192, lots 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, north half of the lot 33, excluding official records book 241, page 161, RD. Also that part of closed Hampton Road, official records book 626, page 185, including State Road 19. Parcel number 210266870000340, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Like I said, it's fancy change.
Anybody here for public comments?
No, I have one.
Dan? Question?
So that just here says 3815 Reed Street, so that's not the same location.
That's the next one.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, we're still.
Okay, okay.
We're still on.
All right.
Okay.
That's right.
My bad.
Anybody for public comments, seeing none, we'll close. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, now we're moving on to B.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2023. An ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, annexing in the corporate limits of the city of Palatka, Florida, certain adjacent territory identified as 3815 Reed Street, part of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter, official records book 38, page 558, parcel 21026000036000000, contiguous to the boundaries of the city of Palatka, providing for scrivener's errors and providing for an effective date.
Same question. What is that?
Sunny, could you pull up the map, please?
Certainly.
Thank you. This is the piece of property right at the entryway to Lowe's on Reed Street. It's just to the east of that entryway, and there's currently a structure there that's a consignment store. Consignment store. So this is a half acre, just under a half acre parcel property. And we are looking to annex it and change the future land use designation from Putnam County Urban Services to City of Palatka Commercial, and rezone the same from Putnam County Commercial General Light C2 to City of Palatka Commercial Intensive C2. In theory, on the automotive oriented development. And in this case, there's much of that property around it is also zone C2 already. And that was also the case with the previous one.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
Any further questions? I'm going to open it up to public comment. Is anybody here? And we're going to have to go into particular item for public comment. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, on to the next one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And again, I would note that the plume requires one reading, so this is brought to you for adoption. Ordinance number 2023-11, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, providing that the future land use map of the adopted comprehensive plan be amended with respect to the following parcel of land less than 50 acres in size from Putnam County Urban Services US to the city of Palatka Commercial Com for the following property: 3815 Reed Street, Palatka, Florida 32177, part of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter, official records book 38, page 558, parcel 2102640036040, contiguous to the boundaries of the city of Palatka and providing for scrivener's errors and providing for an effective date.
Second.
Anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. All in favor? Aye.
Goes off, it's in my pocket, so I know.
That appears to be some background noise in the commission.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah.
It was background noise.
Okay,
He muted
okay.
himself. His phone got unmuted.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on.
I'm sorry, did the motion pass?
Yes.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, moving on. Ordinance number 2023-12, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, providing that the official zoning map of the city of Palatka, Florida be amended from Putnam County Commercial General Light C2 to the city of Palatka Commercial Intensive C2 for the following property: 3815 Reed Street, Palatka, Florida 32177, part of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter. Official records 38, page 558, parcel 2102640 036000000, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's, providing for an effective date.
Second.
Anybody here for comment? Saying no, we'll close the comment, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, moving on to C, ordinance 2023-06.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. An ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, amending the city of Palatka comprehensive plan to adopt the 2023-2027 capital improvements elements known as the CIE, which includes capital improvements that the city intends to fund in whole or in part with development impact fees and other funds and for other purposes, providing for the taking of implementing administrative actions, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Ms. Wall?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. This is our adoption meeting for the capital improvements. And so it's been transmitted already to the state. It's come back with no comments from any of the review agencies, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Ms. Wall? Opening up to public comment. Anybody here for public comment? So they will put that.
So,
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposition? Thank you. Next, Steve, ordinance 2023-15.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, we'd let you know as I read the ordinance, we have the city's pension attorney on the line with us, Miss Anna Parrish. As I bring this up, okay. Ordinance number 2023-15, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, revising the code of ordinances of the city of Palatka, Florida by revising section 250.45, same investment authority and restrictions, providing for severability of the provisions, providing for inclusion in the code, repealing all ordinances in conflict with, providing for an effective date, and providing for scrivener's errors.
Did you say that? Okay. Ms. Parrish? Anything?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Any questions of Ms. Parrish? Okay. I'm going to open up for public comment. Anybody here for public comment on this particular ordinance? Seeing none, public comment, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, thank you. Next, ordinance 2023-16.
Thank you. An ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, revising the code of ordinances of the city of Palatka, Florida by revising section 250-280, same investment authority and restrictions, providing for severability provision, providing for inclusion in the code, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date, and providing for scrivener's errors.
Ms. Parrish, does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. Open up for public comment. Is anybody here for public comment on this ordinance? Saying no, we'll close public comment. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, thank you. On to Commissioner comments. Commissioner Campbell, any comments? Commissioner Jones?
No, it's not.
Commissioner Gaston?
no, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Barr, any comments?
Hello. Hello.
Aye. Any comments?
We adjourn.
I can't hardly hear. I was in. It's loud.
Yeah. Wow, that's unusual.
Repeat that again, please.
Do you have any comments before we close the meeting?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm sorry that I couldn't hear. It was kind of loud in there, but yes, I don't have any comments. I want to just thank the staff for the fine job that they're doing. And again, I'd like to welcome our new finance director and just let her know that we've already gone through 3 finance directors already. That was Logan, yeah, Logan, Matt, and just recently with Lauren. So again, we hope that her 125% that she gives, that she don't burn herself out. That's all I have.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn.